Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sensei Ken Roche, Sensei Gromit. We will be your hosts for this evening's events. 1 minute to showtime. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can anybody hear me?
I'm the only one here.
You are Andre. Yes?
No.
I know who you are. What's your name?
Adrian.
Adrian! I was close. I was really close. We hung out before. We did some training before. Thank you for joining me. Hey, it's Friday night. I guess the people are not that interested. It's okay, so I apologize. Good evening, gentlemen. How many push-ups can you do, Adrian?
Huh?
How many? Huh is not a good answer, my friend. I'm sorry, Sensei. Excuse me, Sensei. Pardon, that's a much better answer. Thank you. I will give you respect, and it's not just me. It's anybody in a position of that. Anyways, how many push-ups can you do?
Probably like 20.
What do you mean you don't know?
Yeah, 20.
Okay, I like that. Much more confidence. Good. What would you like to work on tonight? I do mostly exercise kind of stuff, right? I mean, kicking. What kind of stuff do you like to work on?
Kicks, punches.
Yeah. Andre has joined the meeting. Thank you for coming. You're late, sir. That's okay, though. We haven't signed in yet. I was going to start with a little bit of a story. And you know what? It's not going to be wasted on anybody. It doesn't really matter who's here. I just was walking Gromit, the dog, and coming back, my neighbor friend, I was told that he lost his son. His son was probably 30 or 40 years old, and he was on a roof doing roofing for a friend, and he fell off of a roof. And he hurt himself really bad. And he got put onto life support, and they had to take him off life support today, so he passed away. It's very unfortunate when anybody passes away, but if it's preventable, then it's even more unfortunate. So martial arts, we train to defend ourselves at all times, and sometimes that's just safety protocols. When we're talking about, the pandemic of COVID, like washing your hands, not touching your face, staying away from other people, staying away from people when you're sick, those are also to protect you and your community. It's also self-defense. On a roof, if you're on a job site, it's very important that you use proper safety protocols. If you had it tied up the way he's supposed to with a harness, anchored to something solid, he would have fallen, but he wouldn't have been killed. He might have been hurt a little bit, but he wouldn't have been killed. If you use power tools, you guys are kids, so, make sure that you do things supervised with your parents. Don't play with matches, all these things, because people get hurt and killed. The important thing is when we're doing martial arts, we deal with some very serious matters. We're talking about kicking and punching and being kicked and punched by people. So we can accidentally hurt people when we're training with people if we're not careful, if we don't pay attention, if we're not listening, if we're goofing off a little bit, we might even hurt ourselves. But in a real fight, you could get hurt, so it's important that you defend yourself. But we also make sure that people don't unnecessarily hurt other people. There's only one good reason to hit somebody, and that good reason is because you had to, or you had no choice. You assessed all of your options. You couldn't talk and walk away. You couldn't yell and run away. You couldn't get help. You got backed in the corner, maybe there's too many people, or they initiated an attack first, where you felt physically threatened. And if you get physically threatened, you may have to defend yourself. You might have to defend yourself physically, which means you might have to get out of the way. Whoa, block. You might have to hit somebody once, 5 times. But just because somebody calls you names, that's not justification to break their nose. Or if somebody pushes you, you don't have to break their arm. That's not reasonable force. And you might notice in the news lately, you've had a lot of negative media about police officers unnecessarily. Mainly we hear about killing, but there's other, arresting very roughly and all that sort of stuff. For sure, for us, the police officers have a lot of responsibility, and I'm not justifying any of it, but they have a lot of responsibility, and bad things can happen even with the best intentions. However, when we're just dealing with martial arts, it's important that you take this with a mature attitude because people do get hurt, and you could get hurt, and I could get hurt. But one of the reasons that I train, I'm totally blind. And I step off of curbs, I walk into walls, I trip down stairs. This has happened to me my whole life, a long time. So I train to be in better physical condition for anything and everything. And last night, very innocently, I had a bag of grommets poop in my hand, and I was going to my garbage in my backyard that I'm very familiar with. But my friend, the gentleman I just told you about who lost his son this morning, he cut my grass on Wednesday, and he moved one of my chairs out of his way and then accidentally put it into my way. No big deal. But I tripped over it. And when I tripped over it, I had stuff in my hands, and I tripped over it and I landed in a plank. I gotta be careful that I'm not gonna hit myself here because I'm like trying to show you guys. I landed, I went like, oof! There's your push-up. So if I didn't do so many push-ups, a lot of people, when they never do this, they're not strong enough to hold themselves like this, and they come down with force. They land like this and smash their face off of grass or concrete or all that. This has happened to me a lot, and that's why I do push-ups. But there's 3 good reasons for doing push-ups. That's one of them. The other good reason is to maybe push somebody bad away from you. You're in danger and you have to push somebody away from danger. Maybe your friend's in front of a car and you have to push them out of the way. Or maybe a bad person trying to do something, you might have to push them. But another good reason is to push yourself out of the way. So here's my kick bag here. If I wanted to push on somebody, maybe I couldn't push a heavy person away. I'm like, I can't push them away. But I can push on them and push myself away. Get that space that's necessary. So when we do push-ups, sit-ups, even here, if I had fallen on my arms like this, if my stomach wasn't strong, I would have gone like this, right? So we train everything. That's what I'm talking about now. Making things strong and tough, because you never know. If you're in a car accident or you fall off your bike, when things are in healthy shape, they have better blood supply, it's easier to rehabilitate. I work in massage therapy, so I understand rehabilitation quite a bit. Also, the reason we stretch, very simply put, things that do not bend will break. So if you don't stretch and become brittle and fragile, you don't know, because you guys are young. Adrian, how old are you? You're like 9. Okay, you're 9. So you don't know when you're going to need martial arts. You think, well, maybe I don't kick and punch anybody, right? But you don't know when you're 15, fall off of a dirt bike, or you're in a car accident, or you accidentally fall down the stairs, or somebody pushed you. You don't know what you're going to need. So we need to train for any possibility. And that's why we start and we do all the exercise, the conditioning. But remember, at all times, when we're training your body, we're really training your mind, right? And that's why too, Adrian, I don't mean to give anybody a hard time, but I want this to be a very respectful environment. The dojo is a very respectful environment. We bow to our past master, we bow to our current instructor, we bow to ourselves. Out of respect for yourself and others, that's why we say yes and pardon, because it shows that we have respect for ourselves as well as our outside environment. We have certain protocols that we don't allow our students to be bullies. We don't allow, profanity in the club or chewing gum. And it has a lot to do with just discipline. And I don't mean discipline like you're in trouble and you're going to get spanked or the belt. Not that kind of discipline. I mean mental discipline, that you do things for a certain and specific reason. If you have the mental discipline to say, I'm going to do my homework today because I want to get better. You don't know what kind of job you're going to have when you're 9 years old, Adrian. You don't know if you're going to go to university to be an astronaut or if you're going to be a physicist, but you know that doing math when you're 9 years old is going to help you someday. Same thing with the exercise, because ultimately what we do in martial arts is we train the mind, we train the body, and we train the spirit, the attitude first. So let's get started. Thank you all for joining us. Okay, so here we go. Bow to our past masters who were also on the journey and showed us how to train. Bow to your past masters. Ray? Excuse me a second. What do I got going on here? Oh, I got a business card or something here. Okay. Bow to your current instructors. Don't forget, you guys got classes 2 times a week for the most times. 1 class on Tuesday and Friday. I'm very happy to be your instructor tonight. And now I said thank you to you guys. Thank you for participating. Thank you for joining me.